All right, this is your boy Chuck. We're going to go right back into another reading live. We're going to go right back into it, y'all. Alrighty. A boy finds a friend and finds himself. I too was nearly doomed by a false label of unworthiness. I was then 9 years old. My mother had died a year before, and I lived with relatives. To them and to my own father, I was a problem child who never would accomplish anything, save, perhaps, what a life of crime can accomplish. I was doing my best to live up to my reputation as a successor of Jesse James. I even had a six-shooter, which I had learned to handle like an expert. Then a certain woman came upon the scene, and she changed my life. That woman was my stepmother. Long before she arrived, I had been thoroughly conditioned by my relatives to hate her. I found this very easy to do. She arrived, and my father brought her to our house, where the relatives had gathered to meet her. He introduced her all around. At length, he found me, where I stood in the corner doing my very best to look tough. "In here," said my father, "is your stepson, Napoleon. Beyond doubt, the meanest boy in Wise County. We don't expect much good from him. I wouldn't be surprised if he started throwing rocks at you by tomorrow morning." At this moment, I believe my life hung in the balance. It was a wise and wonderful woman who placed her hand on my stubborn chin and raised my head so that she could look me squarely in the eyes. She said only a few words, but they lifted me onto an entirely new level. Turning to my father, my stepmother said, "You are wrong about this boy. He is not the meanest boy in Wise County or anywhere else. He is very alert and intelligent boy, and all he needs is some worthy objective toward which to direct his very good mind." That was the first time in my life that anyone had said anything good about me. I straightened up, threw out my chest, and grinned. Then and there I sensed that woman who had come to take my mother's place, as my relatives referred to her, was one of those rare people who can help others find the best that is in them. That was the end of my six-shooter days. Increasingly finding myself as I grew older. Let's redo that one. That was the end of my six-shooter days. Increasingly finding myself as I grew older. I discovered my talent for writing. My stepmother helped me master the typewriter. With the aid of the typewriter, I became a writer for newspapers. Through that experience, I qualified to interview successful men, and thus I came to sit down with Andrew Carnegie. Out of that interview, which ran on through the better part of 3 days and nights, came my commitment to search out the secret of successful achievement, not merely as a matter of words, but as a pattern of definite action in the lives of men who have achieved great health. Out of this grew the organization of the science of personal achievement, which has been reverberated around the world, bringing prosperity and peace of mind to millions of men and women. Great artists also live their own lives, or they could not be great. One of the great opera singers of all time, Madame Schumann Hank, as a young girl went to a music teacher to have her voice tested. He listened a few minutes, then said brusquely, "That's enough. Go back to your sewing machine. You may become a first-class seamstress. A singer? No." Remember, that was the voice of authority speaking. The girl could have been forgiven for deciding then and there that she would never sing again. Yet she had kept possession of her own mind. She became all the more determined. that she would learn to sing and sing well. This she did, and the world became richer. So it has been in many another case in which great personal talent might have been lost forever if the possessor of that talent had not felt it, even when the experts said it wasn't there. Adversity, it's a tonic, not a stumbling block. Every adversity carries the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Very few march straight into success without going through periods of temporary failure and discouragement. Yet, when you are in the possession of your inner self, there is no such thing as a knockout blow. You may get knocked down, but you can bounce right back. You may detour on rough roads, but you can always find your way back to the paved highway. You may think this applies only to simple matters. Think then of the infinitely complex matter of winning the independence of a colonial territory. And not only that, but of focusing the many scattered influences which make sure you become the country's first president. In 1910, I became the personal counselor of Manuel L. Quezon. I not only counseled him politically, perhaps more importantly, I taught him the science of personal achievement, which then was quite new. Senor Quezon was the first president of the Philippine Islands when they gained their freedom in 1910. However, that time was far in the future. The goal of freeing his people possessed Quezon's mind, and he saw himself as the first president of the new nation. 1 second. I had to put some love in my body real quick. All right. I assured him he could realize both ambitions, yet we knew that such great events do not come to pass overnight. There is a well-recognized power in setting up a definite goal. Few, however, realize the power of setting a realistic time limit in which one intends to attain that goal. After having counseled Senor Quezon for some years, I induced him to a set of definite time limit for freeing the Philippines and becoming the new nation's leader. I also prepared an affirmation which he repeated to himself daily. It closed with a statement of this nature: I will allow no person's opinion, no influence to enter my mind which does not harmonize with my purpose. Both the time limit and the affirmation were of great help to Quezon in knowing his own mind and keeping his own direction in the face of enormous difficulties which beset him. 24 years and 6 months from the day Quezon began to use the science of personal achievement, he became the first president of the free Philippine Islands. Coincidence? Coincidence despite a war which intervened and many other factors which were not foreseeable? I do not think it was a coincidence, for I have seen this principle of personal achievement work for so many people in so many different situations that coincidence must be ruled out. We shall touch upon the principle again. Right now, I should tell you about just one man presently doing business in Chicago, who has used it with notable success. W. Clement Stone was in high school when he discovered his own goals, his own direction, which the powers of his own mind would take him. Soon he would be selling insurance at such a rate that he made more money than his teachers. Today, his fortune is estimated at more than 160 million, and it is increasing rapidly. In 1939, however, he faced disaster. At that time, he was the head of an agency representing a big casualty company, which sold a special accident and health policy. One day, the parent company pulled the string and terminated his contract with 2 weeks' notice. Mr. Stone did not have large reserves. It was imperative to keep that contract going. He spent 45 minutes in refreshing his contract with his inner self. Then he decided that within those critical 2 weeks, he would persuade the casualty company it was against their own best interest to terminate his contract. The company had cogent reasons for ending the contract. Nevertheless, they did change their minds as he wished them to, and Stone kept on marching towards his fortune. He decided that by 1956 he would own his big health. He would own his own big health and accident insurance company. By 1956, he did. He decided that by 1956 he would have $10 million of his own. He did. I heard recently that Mr. Stone has set up a lifetime goal of 600 million. I do not know his deadline date, but I have no doubt that on or before that date, he will have the stated sum, and further, that he will use a good part of it, as he always has used his money, to benefit mankind. The concept of 600 million may frighten a man who thinks small, but a man who knows the secrets of personal achievement merely says, why not? A little while ago, I made a survey for the purpose of learning who were the 10 men who had made the most outstanding application of the science of personal achievement in the United States. W. Clement Stone was third from the top of the list. The other two were Andrew Carnegie and the sponsor of my 20 years of research, Thomas Alva Edison, the greatest inventor of all time. I met Mr. Stone for the first time in 1953. It was then that I began to unravel the dramatic story of his rise to fame and fortune. Starting business for himself with only $100 in cash and a copy of my most popular book, Think and Grow Rich, I was so intrigued by the effective application Stone had made of my success philosophy that I accepted his offer to help him take the science of personal achievement to his entire insurance personnel. The task covered 10 years, during which I devoted all of my time to helping Mr. Stone indoctrinate his entire organization with my success philosophy. It was a tremendous job, but it paid off in terms which proved conclusively that my 20 years of research under the direction of Andrew Carnegie had uncovered a miraculous formula for helping people get from where they were to where they wish to be in life. When I first began my association with Mr. Stone, many of his top executives frowned upon the alliance as being a waste of time. They had never heard of success philosophy based upon what 500 outstanding men had learned from a lifetime experience through the trial and error method, and they were naturally suspicious of it. 5 years later, these same executives met with Mr. Stone and myself in a business conference. To my great surprise, Mr. Stone arose and addressed himself to the group. Gentlemen, he said, the combined insurance company of America is now performing miracles. Then, after a long pause, after which he said, the company was performing no miracles before Napoleon Hill came here. When I began my association with Mr. Stone, the annual premium income from policyholders was around 24 million, and Mr. Stone's personal fortune was estimated to be around 3 million. When the association was discontinued by mutual consent 10 years later, the annual premium income of the company was around 84 million, and Mr. Stone's personal fortune was estimated to be more than 160 million. How much did I get from the association? You may wish to ask. The cash I received was negligible in comparison with that which Mr. Stone received, but I was not working for monetary reward. I was after something far greater than that, which could have been gained by any amount of money, for I had proved during those 10 years of association with Mr. Stone that the science of personal achievement could perform miracles for those who embraced it. and made intelligent application of it. More important still, I had laid the foundation for the Napoleon Hill Academy, which is now organizing and conducting franchise schools for the teaching of science and of personal achievement throughout the United States, and eventually will reach throughout the free world. The far-flung significance of these schools may be brought into understandable focus by the fact that the science of personal achievement has turned out to be a perfect antidote for communism, something I had not anticipated when I began the organization of philosophy in 1908, which reminds me that truly man proposes, but God disposes. It may be well that the science of personal achievement will become a strong factor in neutralizing the cancerous evil known as communism, which now threatens the liberty of all mankind. The science of personal achievement is already under option to a group of men who are having it translated into Spanish for the purpose of taking it to the people of all Spanish-speaking countries, starting with our Latin American friends of the South. I plan eventually to have the philosophy translated into all the major languages of the world. So who is wise enough to say that what I got from my 10 years of association with W. Clement Stone, or wise enough to understand the hand of fate which brought the two of us together? The dramatic story of Arnold Reed. All right, we're going to wrap it up right here. We're going to start with the dramatic story of Ronald Reed the next time we come to it. But once again, this is your boy Chuck, man. We're reading Grow Rich with Peace of Mind with Napoleon Hill. You know, give y'all a look at me, man. Tap in, you know. This is your boy Chuck.